evening, everyone. Kalla here. Welcome to my live stream. Glad you could make it today. So today it is back to Hakuouki as we continue on with Heisuke's route. Last time we learned several wonderful things about the Furies, like the fact that they are a completely different type of demon to Japanese demons. They are French and sound very, very much like the fact that they're just vampires. We also learned that using their powers causes them to drain their life force, which is also wonderful. And then, unfortunately for us, Sanan also learned a number of things about the Furies. Like the fact that he no longer needs the water of life to create more, and can create them by feeding people his own blood, which results in them being under his thrall, and he can order them to do anything. Unfortunately, once more, he has used this ability to kidnap Princess Sen. So yeah, that's about where we are. Deep in the yikes of it. Hello Nick, how you doing? And let us continue on. Heisuke and I set off for Aizu, hoping to stay one step ahead of Sanan. Throughout our journey, we were met with rumours of mysterious, gruesome murders. The victims included men or women, young and old alike, and all of them had been hacked to pieces. Yay! Wonderful! Oh yes, that was another thing. The fact that the Fury Corps had been doing an awful lot of murder. Back to work tomorrow, yeah, same. At least I'm working from home tomorrow and don't have to leave my house. Because I do not want to go out in that heat. 32 degrees, yeah, yep, that's what it hit here today. I didn't leave the house. A broken... Oh no. Yeah, it sounds like it might be more than 32 degrees in your office tomorrow, and I wish you the best of luck. I'm doing bad enough, and I closed all the curtains in my house 3 days ago to try and keep the warm out. And I'm wearing less clothing than I would have to wear if I had to go into an office. I'm actually sleeping in my home office tonight because upstairs is stupidly warm, so I got the camp bed out. Hopefully I won't die. Anyway. Every so often, we encountered one of the victims ourselves, mutilated beyond recognition. I strongly suspected there were many others still alive, having been forced into drinking Sanan's blood and becoming Furies at his beck and call. Okay, sorry, I won't die, I'll just melt. I mean, I won't melt, because I'm doing my best not to do that. We could only wonder what on earth he hoped to achieve. Did he actually hope to create a kingdom of furies all the way in the north? After weeks of following Sanan's river of blood, Heisuke and I found ourselves in Aizu. Unfortunately, we were greeted with somber news. The Shinsengumi's campaign in Aizu proved fruitless. Shirakawa Castle itself had already been seized by the Imperials. Shirakawa Castle, castle of the Shirakawa domain. The former shogunate forces and the Imperial army fought for 3 long months over its control. The Aizu domain was ruled by Katamori Matsudaira, the former Kyoto military commissioner. The person holding this office was tasked with keeping the peace in the city of Kyoto. It was occupied at one point by Katamori Matsudaira of the Aizu domain. Katamori Matsudaira, the 9th generation daimyo of the Aizu domain, he holds the position of Kyoto military commissioner. He supported the Shinsengumi. He, and the rest of the Aizu, had supported the Shinsengumi ever since their early years in Kyoto. The Aizu offered us safe refuge, and it was within their halls that Heisuke and I were reunited with familiar faces. Friends!
お前ら元気そうで何よりだな。途中で死んじまってるんじゃねえかってヒヤヒヤしてたんだぜ。
何言ってんだよ土方さん。羅刹の俺がそう簡単に死ぬはずねえだろ。はじめくんも島田くんも無事だったんだな。よかった。あんたもな。
いや、お二人とも元気そうで本当に良かったです。前途洋々とはいきませんが、こういう時こそ希望を捨てずに頑張りましょう。
The rest of the warriors also looked to be alive and well. It was a truly heartwarming feeling, but... Excuse me, Hijikata? On our travels we heard that Kondo was... I struggled to form words and ended up simply trailing off. Hijikata, however, already seemed to know what I was about to say. His eyes narrowed in melancholy.
助けられなかった。あちこち走り回って幕府のお偉いさん方に頼み込んだんだがな。
And so, Hijikata confirmed what I'd hoped was simply a terrible rumor. In April, Kondo was sentenced to death and was beheaded on the Itabashi execution grounds. Itabashi, the first inn-town established in Nakasendo. Imperial troops had camped here to monitor all citizens passing through the nearby checkpoint. Beheading, a humiliating form of execution that involves cutting the head off with an enormous sharp blade. Well, Kondo is dead. And, actually dead. Not seppuku. Beheading. When you looked earlier, it said stream time was... that's annoying. That was either my mistake or the fact that I was trying out a new browser. And I'm not sure which one, or possibly both. I'll pay a bit more attention to it next time. I think it was the browser, because I had similar problems setting up the going live message. Did I wager any pulls on Jamel? Nope. I am in full Leona savings mode. No pulse till July. Or, well, no, I guess we're not gonna get his overblot before his birthday month either, are we? So unless we have a new event, no pulse till July. Yes, pulse to get SRs if we get a new event. Anyway, seppuku. Ritual self-disembowelment. It had a societal meaning in which one can maintain one's own honour by committing ritual suicide to take responsibilities for one's failure. This was the most humiliating end possible for a man who'd always prided himself on living as a true warrior. Soma and Nomura had originally embarked on a diplomatic mission to petition for Konde's pardoning, but they had not been heard from since. All I could hope was that they too were safe.
土方さんはこれからどうするんだ。もともと近藤さんを大名にするために戦ってきたんだろう。それなのに。
Daimyo, a powerful samurai with an income of over 10,000 koku. They served the shogun directly.
近藤さんに託されたものを今さら放り投げちまえるはずがねえだろう。失うものなんざもう他にねえしな。こうなったらとことん戦い続けてやるさ。
そうだよな。そうするしかねえよな。
それでだな。お前らに見せておきてえものがあるんだが。
Ichikata let out a bitter sigh, pulling from his sleeve a thin, rolled-up piece of paper.
こいつは仙台藩から会津藩に送られてきた書状の写しだ。
Sendai Domain, a large and influential domain in the northeast, governed by Yoshikune Date, an outer daimyo, leader of the Northern Alliance. Hijikata unrolled it before giving it to Heisuke and me. Its contents were rather telling, if not worrisome.
仙台藩から周辺諸藩への親書。新政府に下ることを良しとせず。
Empire of Japan. The new government centered around the emperor. The Satsuma and Choshu were the leaders in its creation. Does this mean they're all determined to fight against the Imperials?
まあそうだな。仙台藩は会津を含む周辺の藩と奥羽越列藩同盟を結んでる。
Northern Alliance. The military and political coalition between Mutsu, Dewa, and Echigo domains, formed with the intent of fighting against the Empire of Japan. It was led by the Sendai domain.
こいつはその同盟諸藩に宛てて書かれたものだろ
う。内容はわかるけど、どうしてこれを俺たちに？
最後のところを読んでみろ。
新政府を名乗る輩に抗戦すべし。
My eyes followed the words as Heisuke read them aloud, but as he made his way to the end, he froze up. Oh, what's the matter, Heisuke? The letter shook in Heisuke's trembling hands. Suddenly, he found it hard to enunciate, struggling to say the last name.
仙台藩藩士三男圭介。
Well, that's where he's gone. What? It was Sanan who authored this letter? This revelation knocked the wind out of both of us.
あの人がどうやって仙台藩に入り込んだのかはわからね だがこうやって班を動かすことができる立場にいるのは確かみてえだな。三男さんはもともと新選組総長だった人だ。
Colonel, an advisory position to the chief of the Shinsengumi, second only to the chief in terms of rank.
俺たちの不始末は俺たちの手で肩をつけなきゃならない。
I mean, Sanan continues to be a problem is going to be the theme of this route. I believe. I mean, until the point at which he stops being a problem, which is something that, well, I mean, we're probably the only ones who can stop him being a problem. Right now, my biggest priority is locating Sen. So if that means somehow getting in touch with Sanan, that's what I must do.
手を貸してやりてえところだが、俺たちは合図の庇護を受けてる身だ。命令もねえのに勝手に動くわけにはいかねえ。新選組がこぞって仙台に入れば、妙な憶測を招きかねねえからな。
As if that wasn't enough, Hijikata carried a limp with him as he moved about the room, an injury sustained while on the battlefield. Being immobilized meant that Hijikata was forced to defer leadership on the front line to Saito, making their trip to Sendai all the more unlikely. Where should we go from here?
なるほど。俺を呼んだ理由が分かったぜ。土方さん、俺に仙台へ行けってんだろ。
Yeah, we can disappear after Sendai. Neither of us are officially part of the Shinsengumi. Given that one of us is officially dead. His resigned tone made me flinch.
三男さんも俺も本当ならとっくに死んでた人間だ。だから死人は死人、羅刹は羅刹同士で潰し合ってこいって言うんだよな。
Isuke, no! I refused to believe that Hijikata would be so cruel. Desperately, I glanced at Hijikata. Yet again, my hopes were dashed.
さすが察しがいいな。お前の言う通りだ。その命に変えても三男さんを止めてこい。いいな。
Hijikata! Could he? He had no idea what Heisuke endured, how he nearly killed himself defending against Sanan and his never-ending army of furies. Nor had he seen Heisuke's expression after he was forced into a vicious murdering spree, coated in a cascade of blood that threatened his sanity. If only Hijikata knew that, he never would have issued such an order. That's not fair! It's not fair to put the burden of stopping Sanan upon Heisuke's shoulders alone. You're sending him to his death! Suddenly, I felt Heisuke's hand on my shoulder.
やめろよ、千鶴。
But, Heisuke!
いいんだ。
He then turned to Hijikata.
どのみち三男さんには借りがあるし、俺にしかできねえ役目だってんなら引き受けるしかねえだろ。
Heisuke, usually so lively and cheerful, looked like he'd given up entirely. He just didn't look like himself.
そんじゃ俺、支度してくるから。
He let go of my shoulder, and then left the room. Heisuke, wait!
やめろ、雪村。一人にしてやれ。
Hijikata interrupted me coldly. I spun on my heel to face him. Hijikata didn't want Heisuke to die either. I just knew he didn't.
新選組本体から人数を割くわけにはいかねえ。今動けるのは表向き死んだことになってるただ一人の羅刹、平助だけなんだ。
Is that the only reason you're sending Heisuke off?
一人で三男さんをどうにかできそうなのはあいつぐらいだからな。
On his own. He was leaving for Sendai on his own. He would have to deal with his affliction on his own. He must take down Sanan on his own. Sanan is the one who saved Heisuke's life during the Aberano Koji incident.
他に方法があるんならそっちを取るがな。それができねえ以上仕方がねえ。
Hijikata, do you really think Heisuke stands a chance against Sanan? For a moment, Hijikata didn't respond. Even he seemed to know how low the odds were. Then, if Heisuke had no choice but to go off to his death, if it meant I may very well never see him again, then allow me to join him.
お前を
Yes, I have to save Sen from Sanan, and beyond that, I can't let Heisuke go alone. Hijikata stared straight into my eyes as if trying to ascertain how serious I was. I stared back without blinking. As our battle of wills continued, a deafening silence filled the room until Hijikata shut his eyes in defeat, while letting out a deep sigh.
もともとお前を体内に留め置いてたのは高堂さんの行方を探すためだ。今となっちゃお前をつなぎ止めておく理由もねえ。いや、もうずっと前からなかったのかもしれねえな。
So, you're saying...
今まで悪かったな。お前は晴れて自由の身だ。平助のやつがやけっぱちにならねえよう、うまく手綱を取ってやってくれ。
Thank you so much, Hijikata. Really, you have no idea how much this means to me. I bowed deeply.
礼には及ばねえさ。お前も平助も死ぬんじゃねえぞ。
I bowed to him once more. With that, Hijikata nodded, and I left the room. It was unlikely that I would ever cross paths with any of the Shinsengumi men again, but I had no regrets. At the very least, joining Heisuke meant that he wouldn't have to die all alone. I bolted to Heisuke's room when... Oh dear. Heisuke! I heard a scream and I rushed to slide his door open. There he was. And given how poorly the medicine worked last time, I think it's blood time. He was leaning his back against the wall, clutching his chest in abject pain. We are going to make a save here. Just in case we need to come back. But I'm pretty sure it's blood time now. There was no time to waste. I drew my kodachi and made a cut along my wrist. Heisuke, here, drink my blood. Heisuke looked away from my bloody wrist. Please, just drink. You can't afford to collapse here.
そうだな。土方さんの命令があるもんな。
Isuke finally put his lips to my wound, eyes racked with guilt.
本当にごめん。
You don't need to apologize. I'm fine. He drank my blood like a beast licking a wound to soothe it. With each drop he took in, the pain gradually left his face. What a relief. I was able to ease his pain. Whatever the circumstances may be, being able to provide some form of comfort was the best feeling of all. And let us check what that has done to the corruption. Low. After what felt like an eternity, Heisuke's seizure finally seemed to calm.
悪いな。いつも面倒かけちまって。だけど、こうやってお前に辛い思いをさせるのも、これが最後か。
We're hoping it's not the last time, Heisuke. Well, at least if you're implying it the way I think you're implying it. Oh yeah, because he doesn't know we're going with him. About that. I'm coming with you to Sendai, Heisuke. Heisuke's jaw dropped.
一緒にってどうして？
What do you mean, why? Sen's with him too, I need to save her. And more than that, I'm not letting you go alone.
土方さんはなんて言ってたんだ？あの人がそんなこと許すわけねえだろ。
He already approved it. All he said was to look out for you and make sure you're safe. Heisuke had probably never expected that Hijikata would actually allow me to go. Heisuke seemed to think this over, but eventually...
ダメだ。一緒に連れて行くわけにはいかねえ。
Nah, Heisuke, you don't have a choice here.
お前は土方さんたちと一緒にいてくれ。
Also, Heisuke, do you think staying here with them is going to be safer? This military campaign is not going well, Heisuke. Huh? This hadn't been the reaction I was expecting. And suddenly my heart sank into the pit of my stomach.
何度も言わせるなって。お前を連れて行くわけにはいかねえんだよ。この間三男さんと戦った時のことを覚えてるだろう。俺の力じゃあの人に勝てるかどうかわからねえんだ。だから。
Well, even more reason for me to watch out for you, right? Heisuke, if you keep using your fury powers, or become injured beyond what you can regenerate, then you might...
だからってお前がついてきてどうなるって言うんだよ。
Well, you're right. I can't do anything for you out on the battlefield. But if we work alongside Kimigiku, then surely all of us could come up with a strategy against Sanan, right? If we just put our heads together, and then I'm sure we could come up with something, so... I desperately tried to convince him, but he refused to look at me. For a moment, he kept his lips shut, hanging his head, before murmuring,
お前は俺とは違うじゃねえか。
I think Heisuke is sort of mentally battling between doesn't want to be without Chizuru and also the place he's going is dangerous. Huh?
お前は鬼かもしれねえけど、これから先も普通の人間として生きていけるんだろう。
Oh, and also with the existential dread that he has about being a Fury. That too. That's also a factor.
いつ灰になって消えちまうかわからねえ俺と違って。
Isuke tightly gripped his chest, as if his hand were clutching his heart directly, and then averted his defeated gaze toward the ground. Isuke's innocent features were warped with bitterness and resentment. He inhaled deeply, pausing for a quiet moment. Then he exhaled.
三男さんのことは俺が何とかする。勝ち目は薄いかもしれねえけど、三男さんを道連れにしてあの世に行くことぐらいならできるかもしれねえもんな。
What do you mean by take him with you?
そうだろ。この間三男さんだって言ってたじゃねえか。甘さを捨てねえ限り俺は何百回戦っても勝てねえって。あの人には命を捨てる覚悟で立ち向かわねえといけねえんだ。
Isuke, do you want to die? Even as I said it, I couldn't wrap my head around it. He was always so lively and cheerful. Even after becoming a Fury, he'd stayed his usual kind-hearted self.
死ぬつもりも何も。俺もう死人みてえなもんじゃねえか。ふとした瞬間に血を飲みたくて狂いそうになっちまって、そのうち俺も血を得るため江戸の人たちを殺してた羅刹隊のやつらみてえになっちまうんだ。
I'm not gonna let you end up like that, Heisuke.
だからお前ももうこんな俺のことなんて忘れちまえよ。
How should I respond? Ooh. What are the vibes here? Hmm. Are you serious, Escape? But I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's how Chizuru is doing it. You know. We'll find out. I think that still feels right. Heisuke, you serious?
しょうがねえだろ。俺だって本当は死にたくなんてねえけど、戦っても戦わなくてもどうせ近いうちに死んじまうんだぜ。たった一人で三男さんを止めてこいなんて言われちまって、俺があの時落ち水を飲んだのはこのためだったなんて思いたくねえけど、でもそれはしょうがねえことだって踏ん切りをつけられるんだ。だけどもしお前を守りきれずに死なせちまったら俺どうすればいいんだよ。
I wanted to tell him that I'd readily accepted the idea that I might die as well. I quickly shut my mouth. Telling him that would only make this more difficult for him.
お嬢なら頼むからやめてくれよ。お前はどこにでも行けるじゃねえか。俺のそばにいる必要なんてねえだろ。化け物になっちまった俺のことなんてさっさと見放しちまってくれよ。
Refuse to listen to any more of this. I slapped him across the face. Well, the fact that we have a CG feels like we may have gone in the right direction. My palm throbbed where I'd hit him. I choked, tears swelling behind my eyelids. I was equal parts furious and devastated. I'm not pitying you. You're right, Heisuke. I'm not a fury, so I can't fully understand where you're coming from. But I've never thought of you as a monster. If you think I'm just going to abandon you like that, then think again. I don't want to give up. Before I knew it, tears were streaming down my cheeks. I don't want you to die, Heisuke. I want to find a way for us to live together. Heisuke was silent for a moment, but eventually...
そんな方法があるんなら、三男さんがとっくに見つけちまってたはずだろう。俺本人が諦めてんのにどうしようって言うんだよ。探しに行こうとしたら、この足が崩れちまうかもしれねえんだぞ。
You do. I'll be right there to support you.
手を伸ばそうとしたとき、この腕が灰になっちまうかもしれねえぞ。
I'll reach out to you instead, Heisuke. This was no ploy to comfort or cheer him up. I would do anything for him. Heisuke's eyes shone with a sheen of tears. He blinked them back, holding his breath to keep from collapsing entirely.
バカだよお前。こんな状況でどうしてそんなに前向きでいられるんだ。
Because you're still here. We're still able to talk like this. I can't just give up. I don't want to believe you'd ever disappear on me.
千鶴。
Heisuke let out the deep breath he'd been holding. A faint smile of relief appeared on his face. It was the same kind-hearted expression he'd always worn before he became a fury.
俺、お前ほど前向きじゃねえから。羅刹になった人間を救う方法があるなんて信じられねえけど。でも、そう信じてるお前を信じることはできるかもしれねえ。
He reached out to wipe my tears away. And then... Hey, correct choice.
俺、お前のためにもう少しだけ生きてみるよ。
Oh good, we successfully slapped and shouted some sense back into him. Later that evening, Heisuke and I departed from Aizu. We were careful to avoid detection, sneaking quietly down a forested trail to approach the border between the Aizu and Sendai domains. There, we encountered the last person we expected to see.
まさかここで貴様らと相まみえることになるとはな。
Yeah! Yeah, I guess the last person I expected to see.
風間、どうしてここに？
Kazuma cast a displeased look in the direction of Sendai Castle.
目障りなまがい者どもが仙台藩の領内を往来していると聞いて足を向けてみたまで。
Fake. What the demons call the Furies. Furies? This must have been Sanan's doing. To think there'd been such a commotion that even Kazama would feel compelled to come himself, when he knew nothing of the situation. Just what was happening in Sendai? How many people had Sanan turned into Furies?
もしや貴様らの仕業ではあるまいが、ヤセの女鬼の弦があるから今まで貴様らに手出しをせずに置いてやった。もしまがいものを増やしているのであれば容赦はせんぞ。
Yeah, speaking of showing no mercy, we could do with a third person in this crew. Assuming, well, I was going to say assuming Kazama is willing to help us with this, but, I'm pretty sure if we tell him we would like to take them all out, then he'll probably help, right? Or just go off on his own. Heisuke, calm down. Kazama has a short fuse. You'll just end up getting in a fight.
今何が起きているのかを聞かせろ。なぜ貴様らは新選組の連中と別行動をとっている。
I wasn't entirely sure it was a good idea to explain everything to him. But at the very least, he didn't seem to mean us any harm. And besides, he also shared our belief that the propagation of Furies had to be stopped at all costs. This would be a gamble, but it was worth a try. You see... And so, I plainly recounted everything that had happened until now.
希少な純血の女鬼をまがい物に奪い去られただと。貴様らは一体何をしていたのだ、この役立たずめが。
油断してたんだよ。まさか三男さんが新選組を見限ってあんな真似をするなんて思わなかったし。
今仙台でまがい物を次々に増やしているのはその三男という男に間違いないのだな。
I mean, it's not going to be anyone else, is it? 'Cause, yes, we have good reason to think so.
それだけわかれば十分だ。
Without saying goodbye, Kazama turned his back to us and walked off. Wait! Where are you going, Kazama?
決まっている。まがい物の親玉を切り、手下連中も全員葬り去る。
Suddenly, Heisuke's face hardened as if he'd suddenly realized something.
気づいたようだな。まがい物にしては上出来だ。
そりゃあな、これだけの殺気に気づかねえはずねえだろ。しかもこんなに血の匂いをプンプンさせてるってことは。
Ah, we're surrounded. Kazama and Heisuke drew their swords almost in unison. And then...
ここに隠れてんだろ、見え見えなんだよ。
Without waiting for an answer, Heisuke lunged and stabbed into the underbrush.
まがい物ごときだし、我が刀を汚すのは気が進まぬ。貴様らをこのまま生かしておくわけにはいくまい。仕方あるまい。
Heisuke and Kazama butchered each of the Furies, one after the other.
こいつら多分三男さんが放った刺客だよな。
だろうな。仙台領に立ち入ろうとする者は全員殺せとでも命じられているのだろう。
What? Just then,
おのれ
One of the Furies, stabbed earlier by Heisuke, had stood back up, rushed at him from behind. Heisuke, watch out! Behind you! Heisuke whirled around to block, but the Fury was quicker. Just then, I heard something sharp cleave through the air. The Fury halted in its tracks. Heisuke wasn't about to let this opportunity slip. The Fury collapsed, dead.
新選組の皆さん方の剣の腕は重々承知しておりますが。
Kiku?
勝って兜の尾を締めよという言葉もありますわ。くれぐれも油断なさらず。
この声は。
Yeah! Kiku! It's you!
ご無沙汰しております。千鶴さん、東堂さん。
When Heisuke and I left Edo, I'd sent a letter addressed to her through Dr. Matsumoto, but we'd had no opportunity to contact her since then.
仙台市中の状況を調べていたところ、羅刹たちがこちらへ向かうのを見かけたもので、もしやと思い追ってきたら、あなた方の姿をお見かけして、お二人ともご無事でよかったですわ。
Though she was happy to see us, just looking at her induced a crushing feeling of guilt. Kimigiku. I wrote this in my letter, but Sen is...
存じております。ですが、あなた方だけの責任ではありませんわ。私が姫様のおそばを離れずにいれば、あんなことには。
No, Kimigiku.
お前一人が居合わせたところで何ができるわけでもあるまい。部をわきまえろ。
Rude, Kazama. Kimigiku bit her lip at Kazama's harsh critique.
おい、風間。いくらなんでもその言い方はねえだろ。
お気遣いありがとうございます、東堂さん。ですが、彼の言う通りですわ。口惜しいですが、私の力ではあの三男という男が刺激する羅刹にはかないませんから。
Kimigiku.
貴様が知っている限りで構わぬ。仙台の状況を聞かせろ。
あの男、三男は藩主に取り入り、敵兵や罪人として処刑される予定だった者に己の血を与え、その者たちを羅刹に変えて紙幣としているようです。おそらく彼の手勢は新選組にいた頃の数倍、いえ、数十倍に膨れ上がっているかと。
Is that 10 times the number of what he had in the Fury car? Or before he was a Fury? Those numbers are probably different. Before disappearing, Sanan left us with a threat. His goal was to head north and create a kingdom of Furies. I doubted it back then, but... was he actually planning on going through with it? What about Sen? All we know is he abducted her. Were you able to get any idea of where she could be?
姫様は今、仙台城に幽閉されているようです。お助けしようと思ったのですが、城は多くの羅刹に守られていて、近づくことすら叶いませんでした。
No!
姫様は数少ない純潔の女王に落ち水を飲まされたとはいえ、そう簡単に正気を失うとは思えませんが、体力と精神力がいつまで持つか。
急ぐに越したことはないというわけだな。薄汚いまがいものの分際で気高き純潔の鬼をさらい羅刹とするとは。 三男という男はよほど早死にしたいと見える。
私はもう一度城の様子を探ってきます。望みは薄いかもしれませんが、もしかすると隠し通路などを見つけられるかもしれませんから。
まとまって動くとまた羅刹どもに感づかれちまうかもしれねえな。どうする千鶴。
仙台は羅刹の町となっています。もし向かうつもりでしたらくれぐれもご注意を。
ああ、分かってる。三男さんのことだから二重三重の罠を仕掛けてあるんだろうしな。
何か分かりましたらすぐにお知らせいたします。それではまた。
Migiku nodded sternly, then leapt from the ground into the trees. She vanished into the sea of branches and foliage. Kazama started to walk away, his stride calm and confident. Where are you going, Kazama? If we're going to scope out an alternate entrance to Sendai Castle, shouldn't we wait for Kimigiku to return before going ahead? Kazama didn't even spare me a glance. He muttered under his breath.
貴様らに一つ教えてやろう。あの三男という男を始末するつもりならば、2日後が後期だ。
Why is that? Why do you say that?
2日後の夜、月が中天にかかる刻限、天霧がこの仙台の藩境で騒動を起こす手はずになっている。
Ah, a distraction.
まがい者どもがそちらに気を取られている隙をつけば、城に忍び込むのも容易なはずだ。
Was Kazama actually helping us?
それ俺たちじゃなくて君菊さんに教えてやった方が良かったんじゃねえか。
早合点して勝手に姿を消したのはあの女鬼だ。それに俺は同じ鬼だからとて慣れ合うつもりなどない。利用できるものはせいぜい利用させてもらうがな。
For delivering his cryptic message, Kazama melted like a wisp of smoke into the darkness.
相変わらず何考えてるかわからねえやつだな。
Well, for now, there's no reason for us to doubt Kazama. Yes, all the help we can get, indeed. Just as Kazama is also accepting all the help he can get, but he's just wording it a little more rudely. In fact, I think he makes a good ally.
気は許さねえ方がいいと思うぜ。今まであいつにされてきたことを忘れちまったわけじゃねえだろ。
Of course I haven't, but...
とりあえず仙台の町にもう少し近づいてみるか。日が出てからだと動くのが辛くなっちまうからな。
Right. We exchanged nods before running off into the direction which Kazama had just disappeared. (1868) May. We sprinted underneath flickers of moonlight. Soon the eastern sky lightened with the approach of dawn.
だいぶ走ったよな。少し休んだ方がいいか。
Huh? Really? I still have a lot of energy in me.
無理すんなよ。ラセスの俺と違ってお前はそんな体力ないだろ。
That's not true.
天霧が騒ぎを起こすのは2日後の夜って言ってただろ。少し休んだって手遅れにはならねえさ。きっとな。
Well, case, then sure, I can rest for a bit.
眠かったら寝ちまってもいいぜ。俺が見張りしてるから。
I'm fine. I'm not tired at all. Thank you, Heisuke. I sat beneath the trunk of a large tree, nestling against its roots. To be honest, my calves and knees were throbbing. After we'd parted ways with Kazama, we'd kept on running through the rugged terrain, the forest so dark I couldn't see where I was stepping. Hey, Heisuke?
なんだ
Are you ready? Ready for the fight with Sanan? Heisuke's expression froze. Heisuke hadn't seemed to fall into despair ever since we talked, but I wasn't sure he'd prepared himself for what was to come. Heisuke let out a small sigh, a lonely smile on his face.
平気なふりをしててもお前には見抜かれちまうんだな。
He half closed his eyes, listening to the wind softly blowing through the night. Heisuke exhaled calmly.
本当に三男さんを切れるのかって言われたら正直言ってわからねえ。だって俺あの人がまだちゃんと新選組の総長をやってた頃のことを知ってるもんな。でもさ思うんだ。人の縁とか巡り合わせってやつが本当にあるのかわからねえけど、あの人を止めるのはやっぱり俺の役目なんじゃねえかって。
What do you mean?
もし俺が伊藤さんを新選組に誘ったりしなきゃ三男さんは羅刹にならなかったかもしれねえだろ。
I mean, that feels like a reach, Heisuke. Heisuke, that... I wanted to tell him that wasn't his fault, but... The sadness on his face made me stop.
いいんだ。確かに俺一人のせいじゃなかったかもしれねえけど、大きい原因の一つになったのは間違いねえと思うし、良かれと思ってしたことがどんどん悪い方向に行っちまうこともあるんだよな。覚悟はまだ決まってねえけど、あの人ともう一度会う時までに自分の頭できちんと考えて答えを出すつもりだ。他人に出してもらった答えに安易に飛びついたらまたろくな結末にならねえだろうしな。
Heisuke. In every calm and collected word he uttered, I could see glimpses of the anguish he'd been bearing all this time. But he wasn't trying to avoid it. He was doing his best to face it head on and come up with his own answers. What could I say in response? Oh, hand-holding for sure, right? It would have been easy to spit out words of comfort or encouragement, but that wouldn't be enough to convey everything I felt. Without another word, I stood up and walked over to Heisuke.
どうした？
I took a seat beside him and gently took his hand in mine. Heisuke froze, confused. Sorry. I know this is out of nowhere. I wanted to let you know I'm here, but I had a difficult time thinking of the best way to say it.
だからってお前。
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not want to? Grabbing his hand all of a sudden may have been an unwanted intrusion. My face flushed with embarrassment and I tried to snatch my hand away when...
いや、別に嫌じゃねえんだ。ただびっくりしただけで。
Heisuke promptly grabbed my hand back.
ありがとな、千鶴。
His hand was hard with calluses from years of training, and it was a little stiff, like he was nervous. After resting, Heisuke and I embarked up the trail to a cliff, from which all of Sendai could be seen. The morning sun had already climbed high. How are you feeling, Heisuke?
これくらいなら平気だよ。心配してくれてありがとな。
I see. I still had a suspicion that he was forcing himself to go on. But as far as I could tell, his complexion wasn't so pale as to cause concern. He directed his gaze towards the city.
あれが仙台の町だろう。お天道様が登ってるのに、ずいぶんひっそりしてるよな。
Yeah. Yeah, that has terrifying possibilities, Heisuke. If there's not a lot of people around in the middle of the day. How many of the people of Sendai are currently Furies? As Heisuke noted, it was past the time everybody should have been up and about, but it was completely deserted. I wonder if people have locked themselves up in their houses to hide from the Furies. Or if... Do you think all of the people down there might have become...
お前はもう少し算術を学んだ方がよかろうな。
Hello again, Kazama.
いくらなんでもこの短い期間に町の人間すべてを羅刹に変えることなどできまい。
Kazama!
随分とのんきな行軍だったな。てっきりおじけづいて逃げ出したものと思っていたぞ。
ここまで来て逃げるわけねえだろ。お前こそまだこんなところにいたのかよ。いつもあれだけでかい口叩いてるからとっくに羅刹を全滅させちまったんだと思ったのに。
天霧に命じて騒動を起こさせた隙に城に侵入すると言ったはずだ。
Oh, you're joining us in infiltrating the castle, are you?
もしやと思うが、貴様の頭は昨日した話すら覚えておられぬほど出来が悪いのか。
なんだとてめえ。
Heisuke, calm down. You too, Kazama. This is no time for us to be bickering. All of us are here for the same reasons. At this point, we're practically allies.
仲間だと笑わせるな。貴様らごときが戦力になると思うのか。
And yet, you told us about your plans, Kazama.
特にそちらの子犬。以前江戸で辻斬りを働くまがい者どもを切るのをためらっていたではないか。そんな甘い考えの持ち主にかつての同志を切ることなどできるのか。
それは。
Kazama's comment hit him where it hurt, rendering him silent for a moment.
確かにあの時は覚悟が決まってなかったけど、それでも三男さんは新選組総長で羅刹隊をまとめてた人だから、その始末をつけるのはきっと。
I stared intently at Heisuke for a brief moment. Soon, his expression relaxed.
相変わらず時代錯誤な連中だ。気合だけで勝利できる相手ではあるまい。
そりゃ俺だって分かってるけど。
まあ、貴様が持ち合わせているのは気合以外にないだろうからな。
なんだと、てめえこそ達者なのは剣の腕だけじゃねえか。
Heisuke, stop letting him get to you!
ああ、そうだな。こんな人望なさそうなやつの言葉を本気にする必要なんてどこにもねえもんな。
なんだと、貴様。
Now who's letting people get to them? I supposed I should be stopping them now.
本当のことじゃねえか。お前みてえに少年が腐ったやつが他人に尊敬されるわけねえだろ。
ざれ言は大概にしておけ。一族の者でこの俺を敬わぬ者など一人とておらぬ。
本当か？あの天霧ってやつに危険な役目を押し付けて自分だけ楽してやがるじゃねえか。
Their banter was immature at best. They traded verbal blows with the wit and candor of children. What might one call them? Frenemies? Sounded so absurd as it came to mind, and yet it was so perfect. So perfect they let us laugh.
あ、おい、千鶴、何笑ってるんだよ。
Sorry. I really didn't mean to laugh. Both of you were becoming so frustrated, trading insults back and forth, that it looked so funny.
あってなどおらぬ。
Yep, definitely funny. Oh, finally, we got a smiling Heisuke CG. It's been a while since we had one of those. All of it was so hilarious to me that I could no longer hold it in.
おい、何笑ってんだよ。
My laughter pulled a smile from him.
意味がわからん。なぜ貴様まで一緒に笑っているのだ。
Kazuma's face.
いや、俺にもわかんねえって。ただなんつうか、そのくそ、ダメだ。こらえきれねえ。
物を言う気が失せた。貴様はそのまま笑い死ぬがいい。
Kazuma was the leader of a demon clan. He'd opposed the Shinsengumi on numerous occasions, even going so far as to slaughter some of our closest allies. Yet here we were, exchanging jokes at one another's expense. Kazuma, who normally created obstacles for us at every conceivable turn, was now aiding us in our quest to defeat Sanan. Such a peculiar and unexpected position to be in.
とりあえず仙台に着いたわけだし、まずは城を目指すとするか。
貴様のことなどどうでもいいが、その娘は死なせるなよ。貴重な女鬼だからな。
うるせえよ。死なせるわけねえじゃねえか。ほら行くぞ、千鶴。こんなやつに構うのは時間がもったいねえ。
Oh, okay. I ran after Heisuke, composing myself. It was time to confront Sanan. I didn't want him to die, as he'd been one of our comrades. But I knew that was naive of me. If there were no other options, if it truly came down to a battle of life or death, then battle we must. I steeled myself as we headed down the mountain. Chapter 4, 1868, June. Our arrival in Sendai was greeted with a foreboding silence. It was so quiet it seemed frozen in time. The sun was high, and yet there wasn't a single passerby. All one could hear was the spring wind rustling between the buildings. This served to our advantage, allowing us to roam with no immediate fear of detection. It was so lonely and quiet that I couldn't believe this was the most populated town in the northeast. Night fell, the darkness only amplifying the dead silence. There were no lights in the window, no voices inside. It seemed like this town had already been taken over by Sanan and his Furies. Sure is quiet.
ああ。まさか町の人間が全員殺されちまったわけじゃねえだろうけど。
Sanan envisioned a Fury kingdom. Was this what he intended to make? We were on the main street, and all we could hear were our own footsteps. It felt like everyone here had died. Just then... Huh? I felt a presence behind me and stopped in my tracks. The feeling of being watched was palpable, and suddenly my feet felt rooted to the ground. Could this be? Heisuke noticed it as well. Reflexively, he grabbed a hold of his sword. Heisuke yelled as he took his stance. Two pairs of voracious red eyes spotted us, glaring at us from across a dimly lit pathway. I mean, no wonder there's no one outside. The Furies held their swords aloft and lunged for us. Heisuke easily spotted them back. He whipped his sword in a flash, about to strike. Heisuke, no! If you injure them, the blood will draw the others. Oh dear. Yep. Heisuke suddenly paused. His eyes darted around, seeking an opportunity to run. Yep, let's avoid blood, because it seems that we are treating the Furies as if they are sharks. The scent of blood spilled in battle would only draw more Furies to us. He led me into a tight, narrow alleyway, and we shimmied to the other side, heading towards an abandoned house. Somehow, we managed to lose them. Yes, I think so.
天霧が敵を引きつけるため騒ぎを起こすのは今日の夜ってことになってたはずだよな。
According to Kazama, yes. I think we've still got some time before the moon reaches its zenith. Sendai Castle was some distance away, and I wanted to err on the side of caution. as I played the scenario out in my head. Yep. Blood. There will in fact be blood. And it will be mine. Suddenly, Heisuke dropped to his knees, clutching madly at his chest. Heisuke!
こんな時に
Save, 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 save. But I think it's gonna be blood. I reached for my kodachi. I braced myself, swiftly sliding the sharp blade against my wrist. Heisuke! No words were needed. By now, Heisuke was intimately familiar with this process. I simply stuck out my bloody wrist. He put his mouth to my skin. His tongue gently traced along the cut. His warmth, his breath, and the dull pain only reaffirmed the bond between us.
ありがとな
There's no need to thank me. Maybe this was why I'd come all this way, to impart my blood onto him. Thinking of how I was able to relieve his pain, I could take comfort from even the dull ache in my wrist. I'll give you as much as you need. As long as you want it. Forever. Feeling any better?
まあな
I assume that it is going to still be low. Low. Good. Well, your complexion's a lot better than earlier, at least. Although his face still looked as though most of the colour had left it. That's good. Earlier you were writhing in so much pain, I wasn't sure you'd make it out alive. Heisuke glanced at me calmly.
とっくに死んじまってたよお前がいなかったら俺はずっとお前に助けられてきたんだ
What? It's not like that at all. I didn't do anything special.
そんなことねえって俺は助けられてばっかりだよ多分羅刹になる前からずっとさ
Heisuke took a seat beside me. Our shoulders nearly brushed together and my heart began to race. We sat in comfortable silence.
俺さずっと考えてたんだ人の血がなきゃ生きていけねえ化け物になってまで拾った命をどう使ってどんな風に果てるのか
What? You're no monster or you're alive? I mean, you're alive and that's what matters, really. Oh, but, Coming back to the monster thing, doesn't he? And I mean, he's not wrong, but... you know, only in the technical sense. What are you talking about? Heisuke, you're alive. So please don't talk like you've given up.
確かに生きてはいるけどそう遠くないうちに命を落とすのは本当だろう そこからは絶対目をそらしちゃいけねえと思うんだ。だって俺は三男さんや羅刹隊のみんなさっき戦った奴らと同じ。ただあいつらと違うところがたった一つだけある。
And what's that? Heisuke suddenly locked his eyes into mine. A straightforward gaze, free of doubt, felt like it was piercing right into my heart. What was Heisuke talking about? My heartbeat quickened as he quietly spoke.
俺のそばには千鶴、お前がいてくれるってことだ。
He flashed a wide, kind-hearted grin. His words replayed endlessly in my head. Me? Was I dreaming? It didn't feel real. I'm helpful to you?
ああ、すごく。
You need me?
当たり前だろ。羅刹が血を飲まなきゃ生きられねえのと同じで、俺は。
He choked up as if overcome with emotion. He seemed to be at a loss for how to convey everything swirling in his heart. Finally, he took my hand.
俺はもうお前がいねえと生きられねえんだ。
His hand trembled anxiously.
いつまで一緒にいられるかわからねえけど、こんな俺より未来がある他のやつのところに行く方がお前は幸せになれるかもしれねえけど、それでも俺はお前が必要だから。だからこの先も俺と一緒にいてくれ。
Ever since Heisuke drank the water of life. No, even before that. Heisuke had faced constant internal struggles. He'd never let anyone see them until now. In a not too distant future, he would likely die and leave me all alone in the world. Perhaps this was why he'd been so reluctant to share his feelings with me. But now he was opening up. It made me so happy I could hardly contain myself. There was no greater happiness than knowing he cared for me. I gently squeezed his hand. I looked into his eyes once, then shut my own. Heisuke tensed, surprised. Words became unnecessary. Kiss CG time! We made it. Felt a warm sensation on my lips. More than words ever could, I felt his love for me. Had anyone else in my entire life ever loved me as much as he did? I hoped this kiss was enough to convey my own feelings for him. It felt like something I'd been holding on to, deep in my heart, was finally melting from the heat of his body against mine. His arms trembled around me. I wanted him to hold me closer, but it seemed I would need to tell him directly. Hold me tighter. I'm here. I'll always be with you, Heisuke. His breath trembled as he exhaled, as if he were crying. We had no way to know when he would go mad with bloodlust. He might crumble away into ash tomorrow, or the day after. This kiss we shared could be our very last one. Heisuke had been suffering with such loneliness and fear for a long time. But I was here with him now. I would never, ever leave his side. Words were not enough, so I returned his embrace. I wanted him to know that I was here and that I loved him. Whatever the future had in store for us, I wanted him to feel like this moment would last forever. After ensuring that we were safe to come out, Heisuke and I made our way through Sendai once more. Finally, we reached the front gates of Sendai Castle and hid among the bushes. Our eyes focused on the Sendai warriors patrolling back and forth around the perimeter.
見張りは2人か。どうしたもんかな。
We can't just charge in through the front. That'd be too reckless.
いや、三男さんの性格を考えると、裏道の守りをがっちり固めてそうな気がするんだよな。君菊さんはどうしてるんだろうな。隠し通路を探してくれるとか言ってたけど。
Suddenly, both of us were startled by the sound of approaching footsteps. Oh no, had we been caught by a fury? I looked behind us and nearly screamed.
来てくれたのですか、二人とも。待っていましたよ。
Well, that's not where we were expecting you to be, Sanan. What are you doing outside of the castle? Sanan.
もしかしたらおじけづいて逃げ出したのかと思っていたのですが、東堂君は私が思っていたよりも胆力があるようです。
Sanan was almost unrecognizable. He was clothed in a Western uniform. His manner of speech, facial expression, everything about him was the same as it had always been, with the exception of the pungent smell of blood wafting off of him.
しかしまさか雪村君をここに連れてくるとは思いませんでしたね。東堂君一人ならば万に一つぐらいは生き残れるかもしれないというのに、雪村君を死での旅路の道連れとするとはなかなか残酷なことをするものです。
こいつは俺のそばにいてもらわなきゃならない人なんでな。そんなことより三男さん、仙台城を自分のもの扱いなんて随分出世したみてえじゃねえか。
ほぼ私のものですよ。ここから新たな国づくりが始まるのです。
Kingdom? Sanan, are you really trying to create a kingdom of furies? Sanan looked up towards Sendai Castle. It was covered by what appeared to be a layer of poisonous miasma. The same eerie sensation I felt... Whoops, I accidentally put this on auto. What was the button that I just accidentally pressed? Nope, not that. Cosmic. Oh, ZR. Okay. I thought it was, but I didn't think I'd hit that. Right. The same eerie sensation I'd felt sneaking through the deserted city of Sendai came flooding back to me. Did Sanan plan to expand all of this? The castle, the town, across the entire country? Well, that does seem to be a poor idea, because eventually you're going to run out of blood. By the reaction of the Furies we encountered in the middle of the town, that might already be a problem. This chilling thought made my spine tingle.
で、三男さんがその国の王になるって？ガラじゃねえと思うんだけどな。
本当に君は 私のことをよくわかっているようですね。前にも言ったはずです。名手はあの羅刹の姫だと。
Sen would never agree to such a thing.
時間の問題ですよ。彼女には日々真の羅刹たる私の血を与えていますから。
Well, yikes.
そんなことはやめろって言っても聞かねえよな。
聞くと思いますか？
Heisuke had heard enough. He drew his sword.
じゃあしょうがねえ。力ずくで止めるしかねえな。
Sanan's face suddenly fell. He looked away, his expression almost sad.
東堂君、君のことは弟のように思っていましたよ。かつて同じ隊に属し、同じように落ち水を口にして羅刹となったというのに、なぜ私と君が進む道は行き違ってしまったのでしょうかね。
Sanan's eyes narrowed slightly, and he took a step forward. His movements reminded me of a snake, gradually slithering towards its prey.
君とならば文字通り兄弟となれると思ったのに、なぜ変わってしまったのです。
Yeah, Sanan, I don't think Heisuke was the one who changed here. Sanan suddenly fixed his mad red eyes right onto me. Oh, I'm being blamed for this. Got it.
そこの娘、雪村君のせいですか？彼女が君を変え、くだらぬ情に振り回されて判断を誤る愚かな人の道へと戻してしまったのですか？
変わったのはあんたの方だよ、三男圭介。
Heisuke screamed bitterly at his old friend as he lunged forward. He let out a fierce yell as he swung towards Sanan. Sanan calculated its path in an instant and flicked it away.
思ったよりは腕を上げてきました。あくまでも君にしてはですが。
His eyes narrowed behind his glasses. Just then, a flurry of voices and panic came from the other side of the castle gate. From within the castle, I heard the chaotic scramble of furies racing to and fro.
やれ、また姫がダダをこねていますか。仕方がありませんね。
Sanan's eyes and hair returned to their original color, and he calmly put distance between us.
逃げる気かよ、三男さん。
話は後で伺いますよ。今は君たちの応対より優先しなくてはならないことがあるもので。
Sanan spun on his heel. He leapt high into the air and disappeared towards the castle gates.
一体何があったんだ。
I don't know, but Sanan just mentioned the princess, didn't he? So that must mean... This must mean that Sen was alive, at least.
追いかけようぜ。今の三男さんはかなり危ねえ。このまま放っておいたら何をするかわからねえぞ。
You're right. Heisuke and I hid a short distance away from the castle gate, waiting for the furies to pass through. After what seemed like an eternity, all of the furies seemed to have left the castle.
これって天霧が騒ぎを起こしたってことか。よし、今のうちに忍び込むぞ。
Okay. It seemed Kazama hadn't lied after all. This feeling of relief was fleeting, however. Sana had been so calm and composed. I could only imagine, despite how many Furies had left the castle, how many still remained within. Heisuke might end up using all of his remaining lifespan to exterminate them. Just then,
そこにいるのは誰だ?
Heisuke suddenly aimed his sword into the shadows. Well, I'm hoping that's Kimigiku. Or Kazama. Either one works. To our surprise, it was...
驚かせてしまい申し訳ありません。お二人とも来てくださったのですね。
Not surprising me, that was my first guess. I'm not sure I'm allowed to take credit for guesses for a game I've played before, even if I have forgotten a lot of the specific plot beats. Kimigiku.
あんたがここにいるってことは、前に言ってた隠し通路が見つかったのか?
ええ、羅刹の目を盗んで様子を探るのは苦労しましたが。お二人ともこちらへどうぞ。
Kimigiku led us to a dried up well. Although to the naked eye it was totally unassuming, at the bottom of the well there was a narrow drainage chute that led into the side of the castle. You really could get into the castle from here, huh?
ここは戦国時代に建てられた城のようですから、敵に攻め込まれた時に備えて無数の抜け道があるようですね。
Yep. Hidden exits. Very important to have.
なんか財宝の一つでも隠してありそうな雰囲気だよな。
どこかにあるらしいですよ。
Wait, really?
この城を築いた伊達政宗公が気球のために遺産を隠したという話があります。
Masamune Date, a military commander during the Warring States era. He thrived in this era, establishing the Sendai domain and building Sendai Castle.
真偽は定かではありませんがね。
三男さんがそいつを見つけたら今以上に厄介なことになっちまうな。急がねえと。
Was Sanan and Sen beyond this point? I took a deep gulp and crawled on my knees through the dark, narrow chute, right behind Heisuke and Kimigiku. We pressed on, and eventually made it all the way into the castle itself.
ここからは羅刹の領分です。くれぐれも油断なされませぬよう。
On the other side of the passageway, the interior of the castle was filled with some kind of thick, toxic miasma that made it hard to see. Films stuck to my skin, a sensation that distinctly reminded me of blood. Heisuke, are you okay?
ああ、長いはしたくねえけど、そうも言ってられねえしな。そんなことより、あれ見ろよ。
Heisuke pointed to Fury corpses, scattered as far as the eyes could see. The bloody remains seemed to indicate there was another intruder besides us. Ah, Kazama is still in. Sorry, it's already in, is what I meant.
誰の仕業だってこんなことする奴は一人しかいねえか。
We followed the trail of blood deeper into the dark interior of the castle. At the end of the trail of bodies, we found the one responsible. It was a demon on a fury hunt.
貴様らも来たのか。
Kazama, you made it!
無論だ。薄汚いまがい物が治める国の存在など 許すわけにはいかぬ。
薄汚いって随分な言い方だな。俺も一応羅刹なんだけど。
薄汚いから薄汚いと言ったまでだ。
たく相変わらず嫌味なやつだなお前。まあ別にお前に認められなくても痛くも痒くもねえけどさ。
あの男は、三男は一体どこに？
向こうだ。くれぐれも足手まといにはなるな。
そりゃこっちのセリフだ。
Isuke and Kazama got along like cats and dogs. But now that the battle against Sanan was fast approaching, I was so thankful that Kazama was on our side for once. Kimigiku led the way, and together all four of us treaded further into the castle. We must have opened dozens of sliding doors until finally we came upon a particularly ornate one. We opened it to reveal a yawning void. The main hall of Sendai Castle was even darker than the rest. And there they were, Sanan and Sen. Upon closer inspection, Sen appeared to be unconscious, leaning slightly against Sanan's body. A thin trickle of blood drooled from her lips. To me, it looked just like the water of life, but I knew it to be worse. It was Sanan's blood.
三男と言いましたね。すぐに姫から離れなさい。
どうやら君は口の利き方を知らないようですね。私はあなたの主の主にあたる存在なのですよ。もっと敬意を払ってもらわないと。
部をわきまえろ、まがい者が。気高き鬼が貴様などに屈するものか。
私はまがいものではありません。西洋の鬼と同じ、いえ、その先の高みにすら至った真の羅刹なのですよ。
羅刹に真も偽もねえよ。俺たちにあるのは血を求めてさまよう呪われた体だけだ。
いいえ、ありますとも。とはいえ、真の羅刹となれるのは私のような選ばれし者だけですが。ですが、君たちにはその資格があるかもしれません。どうです？私と共にこの国を生まれ変わらせるつもりはありませんか？
鬼である俺に羅刹になれだと？少子千万だな。貴様は虎に向かって猫になれというのか。
Kazama puts his hand on his sword, as if saying he'd had enough. Sanan's gaze slid over to Heisuke.
一応聞いておきましょうか。東堂君、君はどうです？私と同じように落ち水がもたらす発作を幾度も乗り越え、その力を我が物とした君であれば、きっと私と同じ真の羅刹となることができると思うのですがね。
Isuke is nothing like you, Sanan.
何が違うのです？東堂君は血など飲まないなどというざれ言は結構ですよ。これまで何度も発作に耐え、そうして正気を保っているということは、東堂君も人の血を少なからず口にしたということでしょう。
Yeah, but he's not killing people for that blood, Sanan.
俺は
Heisuke nervously glanced towards me. Sanan was right. As he was now, Heisuke needed to drink blood, or else he risked going mad. But
確かにあんたの言う通り、俺は血を飲んださ。だけど少なくとも人を殺してその血をすすったりはしてねえ。血を飲むとしたら生涯ただ一人だけの血で十分だよ。
Sanan sighed in disappointment.
やはり君は甘さを捨てられませんでしたか。仕方ありませんね。ですが私はこれからも殺した者の血をすすって生き続けます。真の羅刹となれなかった君はここで果てなさい。
Sanan reached his right arm over to grab his sword. An intimidating aura suddenly radiated from his entire body, his hair changing to a brilliant white. His presence filled the room, paralyzing every inch of my body. As I stood fixed to the ground, I started to tremble, breaking out in the cold sweat. Was this the power of a fury that had never hesitated to drink blood? Just then, Heisuke lunged forward. His blade traced the path of the crescent moon as it slashed through the air. However,
腕を上げましたね、東堂君。確か君は北進一刀流目録の腕前でしたか。今の君なら免許改伝も難しくはなさそうです。
Hokushin Ito style. The sword style that was popular in Edo during the Bakamatsu period. Ito, Sanan, and Todo used this fighting style. Record. A document collecting all the techniques of a given school. Also refers to the act of passing down those techniques. Usually refers to a document 1 degree below a license. Full mastery. Those who mastered all techniques in a sword school were said to have full mastery. They would also receive a license.
所詮は人間の戦い方だ。
何？
Heisuke's eyes widened with surprise. It wasn't Sanan's sword that intercepted Heisuke's powerful blow, but rather Sanan's bare hand. Heisuke's blade sliced down from his fingertip to the end of his elbow.
くそ、抜けねえ。
Well, I guess that's one way to use the fact that you can heal. Sanan's regeneration was so quick that his arm healed over the blade, trapping it within Sanan's forearm. Heisuke! I instinctively grabbed for my Kodachi and charged at Sanan.
邪魔ですよ、雪村君。
Sanan kicked me away and I went slamming against the wall.
大丈夫か、チートル？
I'm fine, but even while fighting Heisuke, Sanan left no openings whatsoever.
そうです。羅刹ならばこういった戦い方もできるのですよ、東堂君。人を凌駕する生き物に生まれ変わったというのに、君はその力を全く育てようとしなかった。それが君の敗因です。
Sanan mercilessly kicked Heisuke away. Heisuke! As he was sent flying, Heisuke was able to yank his sword out, but he rolled to the ground.
くそ。
Heisuke tried to stand, but Sanan stepped over to him. As his shadow loomed over Heisuke,
ならば貴様の敗因は鬼の俺を侮ったことか。
I was gonna say, there's another opponent in this room. Who Sanan appears to have forgotten about. Sanan whirled around. Kazama stood towards the back of the hall, effortlessly carrying the unconscious Sen in his arms.
なるほど。東堂君が私の注意を引きつけている隙に、君が姫を助け出すという算段でしたか。
そやつらと手を結んだ覚えはない。そのゴミが勝手におとりになったから利用させてもらったまでのことだ。
Okay, fine, Kazama isn't here to help us fight. Oops. Yeah. Drop the controller. Drop the controller on the floor. Don't mind me. um,
姫様、よくぞご無事で。
Kimikiku sprinted over to where Kazama was holding Sen. However, yep. Sanan seemed completely unfazed. No! Kazama, no! Get away from Sen!
なんだと?
Kazama's eyes widened. Sen's eyes flew open. And then... because what we forgot or didn't realize is there's another opponent for us in this room. As much as we don't want that to be the case. Kazama let out a pained groan, and Sen's face was covered in a splash of fresh blood. Kazama! Kazama collapsed to his knees, his eyes glowing with rage. There stood Sen, with white hair and a pair of radiant golden eyes. In her hand, she held a dagger stained with a film of crimson.
姫様、まさか。
おやおや、鬼は羅刹よりも優れた生き物だったはずですが、その様子を見るとそうとも言い切れないようですね。お望みとあらば、君も羅刹に変えてあげましょうか、風間くん。城の門番ぐらいはさせてあげますよ。
貴様。
That wound was incredibly deep. He may be a demon, but this wasn't something he could instantly heal from. Sanan rushed towards him as he drowned in a pool of his own blood. Just then, he was forced to turn around and block an attack from behind. The one responsible was...
勝ち誇るのはまだ早いんじゃねえか、三男さん。勝負ってのは最後の最後までわからねえんだからさ。千鶴、俺が三男さんと戦ってる間に千姫を。
Okay, got it! I rushed over to Sen. Sen, are you alright? Do you recognize me? Sen suddenly looked up, stopping herself from lapping up the blood splattered on her palms. She seemed to have regained some sense of self.
姫様、しっかりしてください。
キク、千鶴ちゃん、
She was calling her names.
どうなってるの？確か私、三男さんに。
At least Sen is safe for now. I mean, Sanan is still here and still a threat. I'm not going to count my chickens. Sen slowly reached her fingers to her temples, her face warping from the pain. She's also suffering from bloodlust. You're right, just sit tight. I sprinted to check on her when...
ダメ、近づかないで。
Her sharp tone halted me in my tracks.
今近くに来られたら私あなた方を殺しかねないわ。
What should I do? Heisuke, the man I loved, was fighting for his life. At the same time, we needed to help Sen. Before I could decide, Kimigiku walked past me.
下がっていてください。姫様のお相手は私がいたします。
Kimigiku? But what do you plan on doing with her?
決まっています。まがいものと変えられ、同族殺しという罪を犯させるくらいなら、私がこの手でお命を絶ちます。姫様の誇りを守るためにも。
What? No! You can't! Please don't kill Sen! She's my friend!
千鶴さん。
This could end very badly. But even so... I gulped and stepped towards Sen.
千鶴ちゃん。
Sen, don't give in to the water of life. Don't let Kimikiku kill you, please. Sen's eyes flickered.
私。
何をしているのです、千姫。その二人を早く殺しなさい。
One word from Sanan was enough for her eyes to glaze over with madness. She tightly gripped the hilt of the dagger and charged in my direction. I didn't have time to dodge. I heard the sound of her dagger sinking into flesh, but it wasn't into mine. Kimigiku?
キク
Kimigiku, why?
どうしてはこちらのセリフです。姫様と同じで、あなたも随分と無茶をなさいますね。
The dagger was buried deep into her side. At first glance, the wound wasn't fatal. However, it was very deep. Kimigiku was steadfast, biting her tongue to refrain from crying out in pain. She smiled kindly.
姫は多くの人に慕われておりますが、鬼の一族の長という身の上ですから。立場上、心を許せるものは決して多くありません。あなたのお生まれもあるかもしれませんが、鬼と知ってなお姫様のことを友人と呼んでくださったのは。
Migiku wavered, then crumpled to the floor.
ごめんね。大きく。
The light of insanity left Sen's eyes.
バカな。真の羅刹となった者が鬼ごときの呼びかけで正気に戻るなど。もしかすると先ほど風間や君肉の血を舐めていたせいか。
どうでもよかろう。貴様が誇っていた羅刹の血とやらが別の何かに敗れた。
黙りなさい。真なる羅刹が破れるなどあってはならない。ならないのです。
Senan shot an angry, deranged glare towards Sen and I.
いいでしょう。もし君たちとの絆が千姫を正気に戻したというのなら、ここにいる者全員、彼女を思う者も慕う者も知る者もすべて殺し、羅刹を増やすためだけに存在する姫に仕立て上げるだけです。仮に失敗したとしても、純潔の鬼の姫はもう一人いますからね。雪村君。
There wasn't a trace of sanity left in his eyes. When he took a step towards me, Heisuke stood in front of me to block his path.
生きてる人間に手を出すなよ、三男さん。ここはやっぱりとっくに死んでる人間同士で決着つけようぜ。千鶴、下がっててくれ。
All right. Please be safe, Heisuke. I nodded, putting my faith in him, and slowly backed myself against the wall. From here, Heisuke's back had never looked taller, as he stood confidently in front of Sanan. Heisuke assumed his Seigan position, widening his stance. Seigan, one of the basic stances when holding a sword. The tip of the blade is pointed at the opponent's throat, and the left foot is set slightly behind the right, with both feet parallel. Actually, before this fight starts, I am going to go get water. I will be right back. And I'm back. Right, let's get into this fight. In the blink of an eye, Sanan and Heisuke lunged at one another. Heisuke attempted to sidestep Sanan, swinging his blade for Sanan's arm when...
遅いですね。疲れが出始めましたか。
はっ、これぐらいで疲れるはずねえだろ。あんたの方こそそろそろ寿命が尽きちまうんじゃねえのか。
ご冗談を。何のために私が人であることを捨てて血をすすり続けたと思っているのです。
Sanan slashed out viciously. The tip of his blade pierced Heisuke's chest. Well, I might be about to regret the fact that we messed up on that last affection choice. Right there. Heisuke!
以前言った通りではないですか。やはり君は何百回戦おうとこの私には勝てません。
Senan twisted his blade, digging it further into Heisuke's chest before turning to look at me.
どうしたんです、雪村君。恋慕う相手を殺されたというのに涙の一つも流さないのですか。
I stared resolutely back at him. I believe in Heisuke.
信じるも何も彼が死ぬのは時間の問題ですよ。
Everything would be alright. Heisuke wasn't the type of person to die from something like this. He wouldn't lose.
人を操る術を持つこの私が言葉では君の心一つ動かせないとはね。
What charisma, dude.
まあいいでしょう。東堂君が寂しがるといけませんから一緒にあの世へ送ってあげます。
Senan attempted to pull his sword out of Heisuke's chest, but
抜けない。
Senan grew agitated, staring back at Heisuke in shock. Before Senan had a chance to react, the tip of Heisuke's sword slid across the tatami mat, ripping it as he thrust the blade upward. It was aimed directly for Sanan's heart. Sanan lifted his left hand to block, but it was too late. Heisuke's blade cut deep into Sanan's heart. Whew, we got it. Blood dribbled down his chin. He drank so much blood from so many people that what poured out of him could no longer be called his own. It flowed out and scattered like flower petals.
見事でしたよ、東堂君。まさかこの私が先ほど君を仕留めようとした策で殺されるとはね。
Yeah, Heisuke learns fast.
昔のあんただったらきっとこんな方法じゃ殺せなかったと思うぜ。
それは買いかぶりというものですよ。私は弱い人間ですから。
そうかな。最後の一撃だって止めようと思えば止められたんじゃねえのか。
Then left out a soft, derisive laugh.
止められませんでしたよ。
There is blood on the ceiling. Or maybe it's just a big blood spray close to the camera, actually. Yeah, that makes more sense.
人だった頃のことを思い出したら左腕が動かなかったんです。
Sanan's left arm. Sanan had suffered a debilitating injury to his arm that effectively ended his tenure as a warrior. It was the arm that had driven him to drink the water of life.
皮肉なものですね。新選組と近藤さんの名を世に出すため戦い続けてきたというのに、新選組の名を最も貶めたのはこの私ということになるのでしょうか。
俺もあんたも表向きはとっくに死んだことになってる人間だ。歴史に残るのはきっと頭が良くて穏やかで剣術がうまくて少し腹黒で誰よりも新選組を思ってた三男圭介の名前だけだよ。
Hearing Heisuke's words, Sanan's eyes half closed as if he was finally at peace.
そうですか。それならばいいのです。先にあの世で待っていますよ。東堂君。
A gentle smile rested on Sanan's lips, just like how he'd looked when I first met him. He shut his eyes, calmly passing into the next life. Heisuke, are you alright?
ああ、結構深く刺されちまったから治るのにはもう少しかかりそうだけど。
Sit still. I'll take a look at it right away.
いや、いいって。俺羅刹だから傷ならすぐに治っちまうし。
Let me do this for you, please. I cleaned his wounds with a thin rag and water from my canteen. Did Heisuke always have to be so reckless? He could have died.
おい、千鶴、どうしたんだよ、泣いてんのか？
I'm not.
いや、どう見ても涙出てるじゃねえか。泣かないでくれって。
I said I'm not. In spite of my insistence, heavy tears rolled down my cheeks.
悪かったよ、心配かけちまって。だけどさっきはしょうがなかったろ。
I know that, but still. Heisuke was safe. I was so glad he'd stayed alive for me.
みんなとりあえずは無事みたいね。大丈夫？おきく。
平気です。あともう少しすれば傷も塞がるでしょう。
Oh, right. What about Kazama?
あれ式の怪我どうということはない。貴様らと一緒にするな。
こんな時までこの態度かよ。とどめを刺したくなっちまうな。
Be nice. Without Kazama, who knows what position we'd be in right now?
ああ、とりあえずこれで全部片付いたな。
Looks like it. Sanan was dead, and so was his ambition of a Fury Kingdom. Heisuke, what are you going to do next?
まあ、きっとなんとかなるさ。お前がそばにいてくれるんなら、三男さんみてえに狂っちまうこともねえだろうし。もし俺が狂ったら、誰かが退治してくれるって。そこにいる小悪の鬼とかがな。
そんな面倒な役目ができるか。他力本願も大概にしろ。
Zama turned his back to us, muttering coldly under his breath.
以前耳にしたことがある。雪村光道が落ち水の改良に用いたのは東国の鬼の里、雪村家の故郷の水だとな。
Oh? Yukimura clan, the largest demon clan in eastern Japan. They resided in the northeast, but were destroyed by the humans, the protagonist's home. Hey, we're already in the northeast, that's useful. What?
陸奥の水には落ち水の毒を清める効能があるらしい。
Mutsu refers to present-day Tohoku region, northeastern Japan.
その水ならばすでに羅刹となったものの毒をも消せるかもしれんな。
Kazama, did you look into this for our sake?
その薄汚いまがいものが都に出てくると目障りだからな。人も通わぬ山奥でつまらぬ一生を終えるがいい。
東堂さんを見逃してあげるんなら素直にそう言えばいいのに。
見逃したわけではない。血に狂えばいつでも殺しに来る。
Zama spat out those parting words, turning to walk away from us.
ちょっと待てよ風間。
まだ何かあるのか。要件ならばさっさと言え。
お前最後までその態度かよ。まあいいや、一度しか言わねえからよく聞けよ。さっきの話教えてくれてありがとうよ。感謝する。
聞こえんな。もう一度言え。
嘘つけ。今絶対聞こえてただろ。二度と言わねえよ。
It seemed that not even fighting together for their lives could keep Kasama and Heisuke from bickering. This made all of us exchange smiles.
千鶴さん、あなたはこれからどうなさるおつもりですか？風間が言っていた通り、雪村の里へ。
Yes, I think that's where we're off to next. Maybe I'll pay the Shinsengumi a visit first, though.
そう。じゃあ時々遊びに行くわね。鬼と羅刹が仲良く暮らしている里に。
Please do. You're always welcome. Following the battle, we said our goodbyes, leaving behind the now peaceful Sendai Castle. (1868) July. Once we'd made our way back to the Shinsengumi from Sendai, Hijikata immediately came out to greet us. Although he'd never say it to our faces, he'd probably been worried sick about us. Hijikata had an unusually gentle look on his face as we recounted the events back to him.
平助、雪村、大義だった。辛い役目を負わせちまったな。
いや、あれはきっと俺がやらなきゃならねえことだったんだ。俺も一歩間違えば三男さんと同じ道を歩んでたかもしれねえから。
Then Heisuke glanced over at me. I didn't go mad thanks to you. Or at least that's what he said through his eyes. Following a pause, Hijikata's tone dropped low, his voice hovering barely above a murmur.
三男さんは最後どうだった？
I think he regained his humanity at the very end. He mentioned something about remembering the time when he was still human.
そうか。
Hijikata lowered his gaze to the floor, his eyes clouded over with grief. Sanan had said he'd fought to elevate the Shinsengumi and Kondo's names. I couldn't imagine how much pain Hijikata must be feeling at the loss of his comrade. And now, Heisuke and I had one more big decision to make.
それでさ、土方さん、俺たちが別行動をとってた間、戦況はどうなってたんだ？
それがな。
According to Hijikata, they were on the losing end of a devastating war. Although both Saito, Shimada, and the rest of our warriors fought above and beyond expectations, other divisions weren't so lucky. What does that mean for the rest of you?
戦ってるのは俺たちだけじゃねえからな。今は何とも言えね
Although he would never admit it, Ichikata was at the end of his rope, desperate for recruits to strengthen their numbers. Even if that recruit might only fight 1 or 2 battles before he crumbled into ash. However, our minds were already made up. Hijikata, I need to speak with you, you see?
待てよ、千鶴。その先を話すのは俺の役目だ。
Heisuke turned to face Hijikata, carrying a look of certainty in his eyes.
土方さん、今新選組を取り巻く状況がどれだけ厳しいのかは俺もだけど、それでも言わせてくれ。俺は新選組を抜ける。 こいつと一緒に。
Hijikata was silent. Kondo, Okita, Yamazaki, Inoue, Harada, and Nagakura. Suzumu Yamazaki, Shinsengumi officer and spy. He is a member of the Watch. He died during the Battle of Toba Fushimi. He was given a burial at sea on the ship while the Shinsengumi headed back to Edo. Genzaburo Inoue, captain of the Shinsengumi's 6th Division. He is a childhood friend of Kondo's and was a founder of the Shinsengumi. He lost his life in the Battle of Toba Fushimi. In such a short span of time, Hijikata had been forced to say goodbye to so many of his old friends.
新選組を抜けるか。刀を捨てるつもりか、平助。
ああ、俺はずっと戦い続けてきた。この国のために戦って死ぬのが武士だって思ってたから。羅刹になってからはもっとそうだった。戦うこと自体が俺の生きる意味みてえな記載してたよ。俺は戦うために生き返ったんだ。戦うためだけに存在してるんだってさ。
Yusuke closed his eyes, as if thinking back on the path he'd walked until now. He took a deep breath and opened his eyelids before turning to face me.
でもこいつと一緒にいて分かったんだ。俺は人間じゃなくなったけど、戦う以外にもできることはあるんだって。
そうか。そういうからには何か目的でもあるんだな、お前ら。
Yes. We're going to head for the village where I was born. The Yukimura village. Supposedly, the water there might be able to cure Heisuke's condition.
俺が生き延びる方法があるかもしれねえんなら全部試してみてんだ。今の俺は戦って死ぬんじゃなく生きたいんだ。こいつと一緒に。
Hijikata shut his eyes in contemplation. Surely he was mulling over everything that had happened until now. After a prolonged silence, Hijikata opened his eyes again, turning to ask me a question.
雪村、お前もそれで納得してるのか?
Yes, absolutely. I nodded firmly. I feel comfortable enough to say this now, but when I first encountered the Shinsengumi, I was so scared of all of you. But the more I spent time with each one of you, the more I came to understand. You laughed, you cried, you were just living as best you could. Before I knew it, the Shinsengumi had become incredibly precious to me. But Heisuke is even more precious. I want to be with him, always. I want to find a way for him to live on.
俺も
Hijikata cut him off.
平助、雪村、さっきの報告に間違いがねえんなら、鬼どもがこの戦に関わることはねえんだな。
Yes, we believe so.
鬼は手を引いて、羅刹隊は滅んだか。じゃあこれ以上お前らがこの戦に関わる必要なんてねえよ。平助は油小路で死んだことになった。雪村に至っては元より大使でも何でもねえ。好きなようにどこへでも行っちまえ。
Hijikata spoke, eyes softening. It was plain, but this was his way of wishing us well. A hard battle awaited him, and yet Hijikata was willingly seeing us off. As soon as he said this,
土方さん。
Oop. That was a longer wait than I expected it to be. Yes, thank you. This was all we could say in return. So, this really is goodbye then, huh? We would have to let go of everything we'd carried with us for so long, and begin a new life. For Heisuke, who served the Shinsengumi for far longer than I could only imagine what was going through his mind. I shot a look in his direction, and our eyes met. What's the matter?
ああ、最後にもう一度だけ聞いときたくてさ。
Ask me what?
千鶴、お前後悔しないか？
The question was heavy with meaning. Of course I won't. All I want is to be with you for the rest of my life. I'll never regret this, no matter what happens. I gave him my purest, widest smile. Deep in my heart, I knew that happiness without you isn't happiness at all.
そっか。そう答えてくれるとは思ってたんだけどさ。やっぱお前の口から聞きたくて。
I guess there are some things that mean more when they're said in person.
ああ。実は俺もあるんだ。今まで言う機会は何度もあったけど、はっきり言えなかった言葉が。
His gaze suddenly went quiet. He looked into my eyes, as if he was mustering the courage. And then, he whispered the words I wanted most to hear.
千鶴、俺、お前のことが好きだ。お前以外の女なんて目に入らないぐらい。他のどんな相手とも比べられねえぐらい好きだ。ありがとうな。俺を選んでくれて。
I've been longing to hear those words. They were far sweeter, far kinder than anything I could have imagined. I teared up despite myself. All those moments I'd spent watching him suffer the torture of bloodlust. All the times I wanted to support him as he despaired. It was all worth it just for this moment.
おい、千鶴、どうしてまた泣くんだよ。
It's happy tears this time. It's great.
俺泣かせるようなこと言ってねえだろ。
No, sorry. What you said, it just made me so happy, is all. Heisuke stroked my hair nervously. Then he looked me in the eye.
お前が喜んでくれるなら、これから先、いくらでも言ってやるから。だから、もう泣くなよ。
The next day, we spent the day bidding farewell to all our friends in the Shinsengumi. I was a little sad that there were many who were too busy for us to meet. But we couldn't delay our departure any longer.
そんじゃ行くか、千鶴。
Yes, let's go. As we exited the compound, a full moon shone brilliantly in the sky, illuminating the entirety of the path ahead of us. Considering Heisuke's condition, we had to leave at night when everyone was asleep. We had figured this to be the easiest option, given that, for all intents and purposes, Heisuke and I no longer existed in the Shinsengumi. We thought no one would be there to see us off, but...
よう、二人とも。
遅かったな。待ちわびたぞ。
水臭いですよ、お二人とも。 見送りぐらいさせてください。
Hijikata, Saito, and Shimada?
東堂さんも雪村先輩も白状だな。俺たちに挨拶なしで出て行っちまうつもりだったのかよ。
お二人とも今まで本当にお世話になりました。
なんだよみんなして。忙しいんじゃなかったのか。
確かに暇ではない。だが戦友の門出を見送るぐらいはしてもよかろう。
お二人が仙台から戻ってきた後、会えずじまいでしたからね。そしてお二人ともどうかこれからも無事でいてください。
And for all of you too.
そうだよ。戦場に残るのはそっちの方なんだからさ。
はは、確かに我々はまだしばらく戦から抜けられそうにありませんね。
だがあんたたちは十分に戦った。敵とも己自身ともな。そろそろ戦いを終えてもいい頃だろう。幸せになれ。
We will. Thank you for everything.
言われなくても分かってるよ。
Hijikata silently observed our banter. He'd already said everything he wanted to say.
それじゃあ行くか。
Okay. We waved to our friends, turning our backs when... His final words to us floated by, carried by the wind. So much had happened since that fateful moonlit night when I'd encountered the Shinsengumi. From now on, our paths would likely never cross again. But... Hey, Heisuke? I loved everyone in the Shinsengumi. Memories of our time came flooding back to me. How the Shinsengumi worked so hard to make a name for themselves, even as the shogunate and the other domains spat on them. The internal strife when new blood joined their ranks. The time when Heisuke left the Shinsengumi to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. How Heisuke almost lost his life at Eberano Koji, leading him to become a Fury. And finally, his triumph over the former colonel of the Shinsengumi. It was difficult to believe that all of this and more had occurred in the span of 4.5 years.
俺もだ。あそこで過ごしたことは多分一生忘れねえと思う。
We sent all these memories off with a smile and walked forward hand in hand. The moonlight when I'd met them had been harsh and cold, but its light as we parted was extremely gentle. And so, summer passed us by. Ending theme. We made it.
言葉にすればほんのひとひらのことの葉一人つぶやいて頬を染める庭先のもみじの色に不意に気配を感じて振り向けばそこに佇むあなた来たのですか思わず恥ずかしさに逃げる私を追って抱きしめた愛しきあなたよ愛しています抑え
Final chapter. Later on, we would hear news carried to us by the wind. Following Sanan's occupation of Sendai, the domain fell into chaos before eventually collapsing. Suffering the loss of its key member, the Northern Alliance had no means of recovering, and the country ushered in a new age of government. Time flowed onward, paying no heed to those left behind in the shadows of history. However, no matter how the world changed, it meant nothing to us, living hidden away in the secluded mountains. In the place of my birth, Yukimura village, time trickled leisurely by. Heisuke's body had been in terrible shape, but the abundant clean water and fresh air healed him little by little. Over time, his episodes grew less and less frequent, and before we knew it, he was able to bask in the sunlight once more. However, it did make him sleepy. Every now and then, I'd catch him sprawled across the tall grass, napping under the shade of an old tree. Soon, it became a daily ritual, his head resting peacefully on top of my lap as he dozed off. I often caught myself falling asleep right next to him, leaning back onto the tree trunk as I held him close. Today was one such day. I slept, dreaming of the old days as the wind softly brushed against my cheeks. Kondo and Hijikata were leading. Hokuto and Saito stood just behind them. Nagakura and Harada were joking off to the side, and the rest of the men stood proudly around them. And of course, I slowly opened my eyes against the bright sunlight. Oh! A smile sprang to my lips, carried on from my dream. Did I fall asleep?
すっげえ気持ちよさそうに寝てた。だからしばらく寝顔でも眺めてようかなって思ってさ。
Normally, I would have rushed to tidy up my hair, but for some reason, I wasn't bothered by it at all. I turned lightly, nestling more comfortably in his lap, and looked at him as I muttered softly. I had a dream about the past. I saw Kondo and Hijikata and everyone else too.
そばにいた。
I can't remember. I think you were there at first, but then you left. I fluttered my hands upwards as if chasing after the wisp of a dream as it floated away. Heisuke kindly caught my hand, holding it tightly. His hands were so small, yet so firm.
大丈夫。俺はお前のそばにいるよ。日が落ちても、月が昇っても、いつか別れる日が来ても、それでも俺はお前のそばに居続けるから。
The end. And there you go. We are done with Heisuke's route. That's Hakuouki for you. Rips your heart out. but then somehow finds a way to a happy ending. So yeah, that means we are done for tonight. So, thank you very much for coming. It's been extremely emotional and fun. If you're new here and you've enjoyed your time, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on social media, which is linked in the description box. The streaming schedule for the channel goes up both over there on social media and over here on YouTube in the posts tab of the channel. Yes, now for the other routes. Yeah, for me, not on stream. You only get one. I really desperately want to immediately jump into other routes, but I promised myself I'd finish Battlefield Waltz. Which I've been slowly working on recently. Maybe I'll sidetrack myself onto another Hakuouki route once I'm done with Lustins. Which won't be very long from now. I know exactly which Hakuouki route I'm going for next. I know exactly which one it's going to be. It's going to be Yamazaki. Because his was the new route I was the most excited for. Anyway. Where was I? I got completely distracted. The streaming schedule. Yeah. The next scheduled stream is Wednesday, 7 PM for some more Pokemon Legends ZA. So I hope to see you then, or another time. Once again, thank you very much for coming. And this is Kalla signing out. See ya! Bye bye!